Hey, Bart. Hey, Felicia. Welcome to the His and Her Money Show.
Hey, you guys.
Hello. Hi, how are you?
We are doing well. We're excited to have you here because you guys have been kicking debt in the rear end up out of your life. And we're excited for you guys to come on and share exactly how you were able to pull that off. But before we do that, can you just say hello to everyone that's tuned in to the show right now and let them know what you guys are all about?
You want to go?
Go ahead.
I'm Felicia Bullock, and this is my husband, Bart Bullock. And we live in Chicago. We're both born and raised here. We've been married for 4 years now. We just had our first son. He's 7 months now. His name is Elijah. And I don't know, anything else you want to share?
Sounds about right.
That's it.
Awesome. So let's talk about the debt. Tell everybody how much debt in total, what type of debt was it, and how long did it take you guys to pay it off?
So we paid off for consumer debt about $80,000 from, it's kind of fragmented, but from 2011 to 2016, and then recently paid off our mortgage July of 2019.
Awesome. So how much was the mortgage?
So the mortgage was $160,000 as of August 2013 when I took it out, and we really started, I guess, focusing on it in January 2017. At that point, it was like 135.
Wow. Okay. So you guys are in a debt-free house right now. So that's a thing, huh? It's not just us.
I love
Other
it.
people are out here paying off houses.
So that, wait, I'm trying to clarify too. So the amount that you just gave, that was when we started to pay more on the mortgage.
Yep.
But the total mortgage
was 160.
Okay.
That's amazing.
Awesome.
That's incredible, though. I absolutely love that. So we're excited to kind of dig a little deeper. Take us on your journey. What actually started this journey for you guys? What made you say, you know what? I think we need to pay off this consumer debt and then go ahead and pay off our mortgage.
Yeah, take us back to the beginning of this.
So I would say in 2011, I randomly was Googling like budget or something like that, and came across Dave Ramsey's program. So at that point, we weren't married; we were just dating. And I got in. I read the baby steps, and that makes sense. So I had money in the bank, and I had debt. So I was like, well, I'll just pay off my debt. I had a student loan and a car payment. It's about $25,000 total, and I had the money. I just wasn't focused on paying it off. So I said, oh, this makes sense. I'll do that. So I just paid it off like the next month. So that was done. So I was finished. At that point, we were dating, and I don't know if I knew how much debt she had or if she had that or anything like that. I guess I tried to say, hey, I did this thing, and I think it's beneficial to have a budget and so forth. So I passed it on. I passed the information on to her. She wasn't as enthused, or wasn't as like, it didn't really catch on as quickly as I would like, but that was fine. So fast forward to 2013, and we were still dating, and I had recently bought this place. So like I said, we weren't engaged or married at that time, so I had bought this place on my own. And things were getting very serious, very close to me proposing, and in between 2011 to 2013, I had been listening to Dave like every day. So I realized one of the biggest things that would allow us to have a fruitful marriage would be to not have, or to at least be on the same page with money. And at that point, we weren't. So I suggested that we both take FPU together, and I guess you can take over from there.
Yeah, so I always tell the story this way, that he mentioned it very like matter of fact. He said, oh, why don't you take this finance class with me? And I was like, okay, sure. And we go to the class, and everyone's going around introducing themselves, and they start talking about why they're there, and everyone's talking about debt. So about halfway around the circle, it hit me that Bart had already paid off his debt. So I was like, wait a minute, we're here for me. Like, this is about me. And so, you know, feeling a little weird about it at that point. But honestly, SPU, you know, I hate to sound dramatic, but it changed my life. It completely changed my perspective on money and budgets and debt and everything. Debt was just a very normal thing to me. Shortly before we took the class, I bought a new car, and he told me, you shouldn't buy a car. You can't afford it. You know, you should buy a car in cash. I'm like, nobody buys cars in cash. That's insane. Who does that? Like, no. And I went and bought my car and got a car note. Like, so after we took FPU, we just were on the same page about money. So we started doing budgets together. You know, our finances were still separate, but we were each other's accountability partners. And I started to tackle my debt because, like he said, at that point, we were still just dating. So I was paying off like 2 credit cards I had at the time, and I started attacking my student loans. And then once we got married, we finished up the last, what was it, like $35,000, I believe. In about 6 months, we paid off like the last $35,000 of my debt, and then the first 6 months of marriage. And that was kind of how we paid off what we call total of about $80,000.
So let's talk about, you know, once it did dawn on you that you got smooth set up, Felicia, right? I mean, it hit you. That moment, like, right, you're like, wait a minute, hold up. Time out, flag on the play.
No, wait, I got to cut you off right there.
Come on.
I beg to differ because we took FPU probably the 3rd time when we were already consumer debt free.
Yeah, but Felicia got set up.
Right, but
I went willingly. Felicia was set up.
Well, I'm just saying, I think that
She went willingly too. She went willingly too.
I love it. I love it, and it changed her life.
So how did you handle that? Because, you know, you all have been having money conversations. You all were dating for a while. You knew that, you know, like you said, he paid off his debt already, but you know, didn't see it as a big deal up until that moment. So what was it like for you to make a shift? Because changing your mindset around money is difficult. It's not easy, especially if you're used to doing things a certain way and you don't necessarily see the way that you've been doing things wrong. And then you get this information, you're in this class, you're hearing this stuff, and you know that you need to do things differently, but knowing and doing is 2 different things. How tough was it for you to turn over your mindset and move in a new direction?
It was tough, but like I said, it was almost like a light bulb went off. Like, it was a revelation to me. It was just like, you know, you find out this information that you didn't know before. So once I was committed. So I don't, you know, it's tough getting used to doing a budget, but having him as my accountability partner made all the difference, honestly, because when you are kind of answering to somebody that you love about the whole process, I think that helps a lot. Like, if I had taken the class and picked one of my girlfriends to be my accountability partner, I don't think it would have carried as much weight, because if one of my friends would have said, hey, girl, let's go ahead and buy the shoes, I would have been like, you know what, you might be right. But I think because it was Bart and he was so committed and it was part of our growth as a couple, that made it easier for me.
What I love about both of your story is that you guys invested on the front end prior to getting married. I think so many times, not a lot of people really take the time to really discuss their finances and try to correct their financial ways, right, in a positive way. Sometimes, usually, a lot of times that happens after marriage. And so I love how you guys took the time prior to getting married to kind of set the right pace. So talk about how you believe that has helped you into marriage. I'm assuming because a lot of times when people get married, especially that first year, you're trying to figure everything out. And sometimes you can really clash heads. You don't really know how to do everything together really on one accord. So talk about how you believe handling your finances or starting to learn more in the area of your finances helped you guys prior to getting married.
It would have for sure been a nightmare. Like, if I hadn't have taken SBU, because like you said, we just weren't on the same page about money at all. I didn't even see the type of life that we're living now as a possibility. Like I said, I thought buying a car in cash was like crazy, and nobody could afford to do that, because I never knew anybody really who did those kinds of things. As far as I knew, everybody had car notes. So I thought he was just talking crazy. And so I just think we would have really struggled in marriage had we not done this prior to. He even tried to talk to me before SPU. He tried to talk to me about doing a budget, and it was not a good conversation. I think he actually, did you write me out a budget? Did we do a budget?
Mm-hmm.
We did a budget, and I didn't follow the budget. You got mad at me for not following it up. I think.
I don't recall that.
Not mad, but you were just kind of like, we did this budget and you didn't even follow it.
I just recall doing a budget and you not wanting to see how much debt you had or see what the balances were.
Right.
And it just didn't make any sense to me. I was like, well, why wouldn't you want to know that? And he was like, oh, I don't want to know. I just want to do it.
Scary.
It's scary. I'm like,
yeah.
How is this scary? Like, this is your life. Like, this is what's happening to you right now. Like, what do you mean it's scary? I couldn't fathom it. But I don't know, that first attempt was a failure. So I just kind of backed off and then tried to approach it a different way. I think to Felicia's point that it would have been a struggle. I don't know if it would have been it probably would have been more tenuous after we got married, but I don't know. It wasn't easy earlier, so I don't know. I feel like we just got it out the way, and it wasn't a problem, and hasn't been a problem in our marriage.
Talk about strategy, because there's people listening right now trying to figure out what they need to do to get out of debt, and they heard that you all were just knocking debt out left and right
$35,000
in the first 6 months of your marriage. So can you help people like understand the tactics behind your strategy? We know that you all got on a budget, but how did you all, attack the debt with such ferocity?
I mean, the budget is key. So my people always ask like, oh, is there a trick? So what's the tips and tricks? And I'm like,
what's the secret?
You just gotta stop spending money. Like, you gotta stop wasting, not spending, but you just gotta stop spending it on stuff that doesn't help you meet your goals. And I think there's one thing that I know people personally that struggle with is like, they don't want to sacrifice something for something else. It's like, I want to be debt free, but I don't want to stop
traveling.
Traveling, or I don't want to stop going out to eat and spending $500 a month on just when I go out to eat, right? It's like you're contradicting yourself where you're saying you want something, but you're not willing to sacrifice. So there is no secret. It's, you got to give up. You got to give up something to get that. And if you really don't care as much about getting out of debt, then it'll show in your actions. You won't sacrifice. You won't give up those things to allow you to meet that goal. And that sacrifice can be by cutting expenses or by sacrificing your time and getting, making more money, doing side jobs or getting a better job. Like those things take time and take intention. And if you're not willing to put in that time and intention, then you won't be able to meet that goal, right? There were people who asked us those things in 2016, like, oh, how did you do it? How did you do that? And we told them, we stopped going out. We reduced our food budget by 50% by just eating in more. We reduced our cable package. We stayed in more. Those normal kind of things. And those people are in the same situation that they were in 2016 because they weren't willing to make those sacrifices, right? And it's not hard. It's not difficult. It's just not willing to do it. And doing a budget helps highlight what areas you can sacrifice on by still maintaining, obviously, a normal standard of life, right? You got to pay your rent. You got to eat. Right. You got to have water, right? It's nothing crazy like that, like we lived in a shack or anything like that. But it's just being intentional with the money, being intentional with the income, and saying, hey, maybe it is an income problem. Maybe I do need to get a better job. Maybe I need to spend more time on my craft. And it's making a sacrifice to reach a goal, right? It's either the outgo or the income.
Yeah, so true. So when you guys were doing this, you didn't have the son at the time. Were you both working outside of the home? And were there any like strategicness with that, like far as like one person's salary went strictly to the debt or to the mortgage while the other one paid the bills? How did you guys approach that?
No, we didn't. It wasn't any tactics like that. So to answer your question, is we both worked outside of the home. And I guess a positive thing by us having paid off our debt. We went through like a couple of role transitions right after we paid off our debt, so we were able to allow. She had the flexibility to change roles, companies, to find a better fit, one that was more conducive to a shorter commute and a better standard of living. And we probably wouldn't have been able to do that if we had debt that we had to pay. But to answer your question directly, no, we didn't have any weird tactics like that. We put all the money in the pot and said, hey, this is how much we got. And then from there, we did what we had to do. And then anything left over went to paying off debt and or the mortgage at based on the stage.
Love reading, but wish you had more time to get into your favorite books? What if you could use the time you already have and listen to the books you already love? Well, now you can with Audible. With Audible books, you can be inspired, entertained, and educated anywhere, anytime. Choose from the bestsellers in self-development, business, nonfiction, and more. So what are you waiting for? Your first 30 days are free. Visit hisandhermoney.com/audible to get started today. That's hisandhermoney.com/audible.
Talk to us about the conversation where you all decided you were going to take it to the next level. You got rid of your consumer debt and you're like, you know what, let's get rid of the mortgage. Talk to us about, was that an easy, was it just a logical next step? Did it require a new level of disciplines, or did you all employ pretty much the same tactics in phase one and phase two?
So it was always a plan to pay off the mortgage because it's a part of the baby steps, obviously. But I didn't see it happening this soon. So before I got pregnant with our son, he's like, I think we can pay off the mortgage like next year. Like, here he goes again. He's talking about paying off the mortgage next year. He's going to have me eating ramen until then. Like, what do you mean you think we can pay off the mortgage? Like, I was just like, oh, Lord, here we go.
You never ate ramen, man.
I know, but in my mind, that's where, I was just being dramatic. But it was more him pushing to say, hey, I crunched the numbers and I think that we can do it.
Yeah, I mean, so my goal when I bought this place was to pay it off in 5 years. And we missed that by 11 months just because we stopped and saved for our son to be delivered and all that. We didn't want to have any bumps in the road there. But yeah, that was always my intention, and that kind of goes back to even when I bought the place. My goal was to do that, and I realized that my salary and certain decisions that I was making even then would allow me to do that. And so it just helped, obviously, having another income and still having to balance new expenses. But we were able to do that just because I guess I had that mindset so early on. If I didn't have that mindset and I bought maybe more house, then it would have taken a little bit more time. But the conversation we had in 2017, after we had done the consumer debt, I looked at the numbers. I said, hey, it's not going to be a stretch. We're not going to have to super change our lifestyle. We will have to sacrifice, right? We might not be able to go on 2 trips to overseas in 2017 and 2018, maybe just one, to allow us to do that, right? And I don't want to come across like we sacrificed or didn't do fun things during that time frame, right? We went to Israel and Thailand throughout that whole time frame. So, we still enjoyed ourselves, but at the same time, we were being intentional and purposeful, realizing, hey, this is something that we think is beneficial and it's not going to take us off track on our goal. So that's why we did it. For other things that would have taken our goal, then we wouldn't have done it.
Yeah. You bring up a very good point. That's something that we always tell people as well. You want to make sure that you incorporate fun. When we were paying off our mortgage as well too, it didn't really feel, granted, there was a lot of discipline, right? And there was a lot of saying no's and things like that. But at the same time, we still felt like if there was anything that we wanted to do or buy, we could do it. Mm-hmm. We just had to discuss it, make sure, did it make sense? Is this something that could wait or not? So talk about, I mean, the fact that you guys were able to go out of the country, Thailand and Israel, talk about how you guys incorporated that while getting out of debt. Did you all have set up a separate sinking fund where you just saved for that until it reached a certain dollar amount? Talk about your process of that, because I think that's important. So many people don't want to pay off their debt or don't even want to start the journey because they think that it's going to be boring. They think that they won't be able to do, yeah, they won't be able to do anything. They won't be able to have fun or go on trips and things like that. So talk about, how did you guys make that decision and to incorporate it? How did you all incorporate that into your budget?
So, I mean, I'll be fully transparent. So I have a spreadsheet that I have a projection about, like, how long it's going to take us to do whatever. And it has a guesstimated income and expenses and all that. So I will plug what I thought these trips would cost and say, all right, if we do this in June, then in 2019, it'll take us until August to pay the mortgage off. Or if we don't do it, then it'll be in May, right? So it's like trying to just forecast that and making sure that we understand what that decision does to our long-term goal. Because I think at times it's easy just to look at it in short term, in the next month or the next 2 months. Like, hey, if I do this, I won't be able to do X. Well, I'm trying to think longer term, like, hey, if we do this, this prevents us from hitting this other goal that's far out. That's, not as in our face. It's, it's 36 months away, and that feels too far to really care. But at times it really makes a difference, because now we're 36 months away and happy that we made that decision. But as far as like paying for the trips, some of the trips we were able just to cash flow within our monthly budget. Other trips we just had to save for and just say, hey, to pay for the trip to Israel and all the expenses associated with that, over the next 3 months, we'll have to have, we can call it a sinking fund. Like, we'll have to set aside, $1,000 or $2,000 a month to allow us to hit the goal of being able to pay for the trip when the trip needs to be paid for, right? So it's really making a guesstimate on how much it's going to cost. And some of the stuff is spread out, right? Plane tickets you buy earlier, the other stuff comes later. So just trying to spread that out, and then back into, all right, this is how much we're saving every month. I want to save a portion of that for this trip, and other portion for the mortgage payoff. So to balance everything out, it's going to take us 6 months to save for it, or it's going to take us a year to save for it. And just goes back to being intentional, and then putting that in your plan, and then just trying to execute that from there.
Talk about the distractions that can arise from our social circles, because sometimes when we're doing things, as you all alluded to, that most people aren't doing, most people aren't paying cars for cash or trying to pay off their student loans earlier or trying to pay off a house. Like, nobody's really doing that. And a lot of times when we're out here on this journey, in a lot of instances, we're on this journey alone and people around us don't get it. Did you experience any of that type of thing, any of that type of stuff? And if that's the case, how did you handle it and not let it take you off course from what you all were trying to do?
I did.
Yeah, I
was fine.
The only thing was when we were on baby step 2, I can't remember if we were married or not. Maybe we weren't married yet, but a friend asked me to go on a trip. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, in my mind, I was just going to plug it into the budget. And Bart was like, no, while we're in baby step 2, you probably shouldn't be going on any trips. You should be focused on paying off your debt. And I never even thought of that. I think you sent me a video of Dave telling somebody that, you should kind of delay travel while you're in baby step 2. But other than that, once I turned down that trip, I was like, okay, I kind of got used to it. I think you're sacrificing more when you're paying off your consumer debt versus the mortgage. Like you said, we went on trips, we had more fun. You kind of buckle down more in the beginning when you are just paying off the consumer debt. But that was the only thing that I can remember that was like, oh, socially people are doing things, and I felt like I wanted to do it.
No, I didn't have a problem.
You didn't have a problem. Did you all tell family and friends what you were doing?
I just said no. I just said I'm not doing it.
Yeah, that easy. It's usually easier for me, and my husband's like that too. He's like, no or yes, that's it. And I'm like, wait, how do
Right.
you feel? Like I'm always like factoring in their emotions and how they feel. But I love how when you guys are focused, you stay focused. Did you all tell family and friends though about what you guys were doing? Did they know?
Yes. Yeah, we did. Actually, my parents took FPU some years ago, and my mom told me about it at the time. I just don't remember the details really. I just remember her mentioning it. But yeah, we told our family and friends what we were doing.
So walk us through that day when you guys paid the very last mortgage payment.
It was recently. When did we? July?
It's on our anniversary.
Oh yeah, it was. It was on our anniversary that we paid the last payment.
Walk us through the day.
I don't know. It was kind of uneventful. So what did we do? So it was something weird. Like you couldn't pay it off by going to the bank. Like you had to do it through like this wire transfer or something like that. So I guess I'll back up. When we were close enough that we were like, hey, we're going to be able to pay it off in the next month or so, contacted the bank, told them to give us what the payoff amount is, and they sent us an email and a letter saying, hey, you got to pay this off by this date, and that'll pay the mortgage off. So connected that with the budget just to make sure everything was going to be fine, and we had a little bit of buffer in it. And then the day came, and I put the wire through, and then the next day they said it's paid. So it was, it wasn't like we had a check and took it anywhere. It was just, we just put the wire through, and like I think it might have been a day or 2 days later where they sent a note saying, oh, hey, we received it. And then they sent an email saying, hey, congratulations, your mortgage is paid off, and that was it.
How did it feel? I mean, I'm assuming that you guys really felt it the very next month when it was time to probably pay the mortgage, but you didn't have to allow that money to leave the account. So talk about the emotions. Like, how did that feel?
I think actually this is like the first true month where we didn't have to pay it. So in theory, we would have had to pay something to mortgage and our insurance, yesterday, the 15th, because we were always paying it around the middle of the month. So I guess it's very, very recent. I don't know. It feels good. It more so just feels good about like when we look at the budget and then look at the thing, kind of like, oh, hey, it's a lot of elbow room there. It's a lot of space there. So not having to see that leave the account feels good, and it adds a little bit more of a buffer, and I don't know, I would say it feels more secure. We have more goals that we're paying for now, so eventually we'll probably upgrade out of this house fairly soon. So the money we're not paying on the mortgage now is just saving for the next place, so that we can just cascade that over. So yeah, it feels good not to have to see that money leave, but then also know that we're able to hit some future goals as well.
Wow. So are there some other goals that you all are going after now? You said you're saving up for the next place. Anything else?
I think that might be the biggest one.
Yeah, that's the biggest one.
Saving for the next place. She recently, and it was a year ago, I guess last year she got a newer car. I need a car, so that'll happen next year probably. And then, I don't know, just investing and saving, right? I mean, that's really the biggest thing, right? Focusing on getting this next home is number one. Then after that is just saving and investing.
Is the idea for you guys to save a down payment, or do you want to like pay cash for the next home?
Oh no, we're never going to have a mortgage again. So this is saving up to upgrade from where we are now. So we'll sell this place in the future, or whenever we feel comfortable that we're ready to upgrade and have the money to do so, and it'll just be a cash purchase, no more mortgage.
Yeah.
And that'll be a crazy thing to do too. I don't know. That might even be more exciting than paying the mortgage off, to actually buy a house in cash. That'll be insane.
Yeah. Now that you guys have a son, talk about how that feels being as a parent, right? To this baby boy that doesn't really have an idea right now of what his parents just did or what they're doing for his future. And for us, like, talk about how that makes you feel. How important is that you all are setting this legacy for him, one of debt freedom, and want to make sure that you're very conscious of the decisions that you're making and the choices that you're making, and never have to take out debt again.
Yeah, so we did an interview with the Dave team after we paid off the consumer debt, and one of the questions they were asking was, you know, how did you feel about money growing up, or something like that. And, you know, like I said, growing up, I was, you know, somewhat spoiled, so it's kind of like instant gratification. You want something, you get it. You know, not just my family, but like I said, most people I knew, that was a pretty normal thing. You know, you just go get a car note, or you finance this or that. So it is crazy to think that Elijah will be raised completely different. Like, you know, he'll be raised to say, you know, no car notes, you buy a car in cash. And even like we're talking now, it's like you can even buy a house in cash, which is nuts. But, you know, he'll be brought in on the budget meetings very early.
Love it.
Love it.
Well, what you guys have done is incredible. And incredibly inspirational, man. So shout out to you guys for buckling down, doing what needed to be done, paying off all your debt to include the mortgage. So we salute you all and want to congratulate you on what you've done. And thank you for coming on and sharing it with our audience today.
Yes, thank you.
Oh, thank you. So appreciate it.